Tonight on NewsWatch, Pope Benedict's final public audience. What comes next for the Catholic Church as the Holy Father officially steps down? Plus, the latest on the sequester showdown, how possible budget cuts are affecting those near the nation's largest military installation. And G.I. Jane is headed to the front lines, but not everybody is thrilled about women in combat. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Pope Benedict bids farewell to the faithful. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin. Tens of thousands gathered in the Papal Square on the eve of his historic resignation. The 85-year-old pontiff used his last message to remind Catholics around the world to stay faithful to God's Word. George Thomas has tonight's top story.
He was surrounded by tens of thousands of the faithful, many pressing in to catch a glimpse of their spiritual leader as he drove by on his Pope-mobile.
This is such a monumental time. No Pope has resigned the way he has done, and it's something that we have to see.
And then he took the stage, smiling, taking it all in. The crowds responding with long-standing ovations. It was in many ways Pope Benedict's moment to reminisce one last time.
When on April 19th, almost 8 years ago, I accepted to take on the ministry of Peter, I had the firm certainty, which has always stayed with me, of the life of the Church coming from God's Word.
50,000 plus people turned out today from around the world, waving flags and carrying banners saying thank you. The 85-year-old pontiff resigns tomorrow as leader of the world's 1.2 billion Christians. He thanked his cardinals for their support and for honoring his decision to become the first pope in 600 years to resign.
Loving the Church also means to have the courage to make difficult and arduous choices, having always in front of us the good of the Church and not ourselves.
Speculation has been rife over what prompted the Pope to resign so suddenly. The Church has faced multiple scandals over sexual abuse by priests.
I think just the kind of weight of the job on someone who is, relatively frail and very old, just took its toll, and it was time for him to go.
Yet Benedict spoke of carrying a heavy burden during his tenure.
The words that resonated in my heart have been, "Lord, why are you asking me? It is a great burden that you have placed on my shoulders, but if you ask me, I will accept, certain that you will guide me, even with all the weaknesses I have."
Promising never to abandon the message of the cross, Benedict will become Pope Emeritus. He'll still wear his distinctive white cassock, minus his trademark red shoes. The College of Cardinals will meet next month to select the new Pope. George Thomas, CBN News.
And joining us now with more on Pope Benedict's resignation is Maureen Ferguson with the Catholic Association. Maureen, many people saw the Pope's decision to step down as evidence of his humility. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely. His humility, and even more so, his love for the Church. He was motivated by love for the Church, knowing all the needs of our culture and our Church, and that is why he decided to step aside, to leave the job to someone who has more energy and vigor and good health to be able to minister to the billion Catholics around the world.
Does the Pope's resignation have any kind of impact on the day-to-day life of the Church?
Well, the Pope just leaves a beautiful legacy. He pointed us time and again towards the person of Jesus Christ. His first encyclical was entitled God is Love. He went on to write 3 books about Jesus of Nazareth. And that is what he means in our daily life, that daily call to that personal relationship with Jesus of Nazareth. And that is his legacy. That's the strength of his papacy, because in the end, really, it's not about the Pope, the man. It's about the message and the person of Jesus Christ that he points us towards.
Where will the Pope go now that he's retiring, and what will he be doing during his remaining years?
Well, he said he's going to continue to serve the Church through a life of prayer. He's going temporarily up to Castel Gandolfo, just outside of Rome, and then he'll reside within a cloistered monastery within the Vatican.
Pope John Paul II was kind of a rock star for the Church, but Benedict has been a much different kind of personality. Contrast the two men for us.
Well, certainly I grew up in the John Paul II generation and attended those World Youth Days, which were incredibly inspiring. But Pope Benedict carried on that legacy in a very similar fashion, not in terms of the charisma, but in terms of the heart of the message. And Pope Benedict is just leaving, as I said, a wonderful legacy, calling us again and again back to the tenets of our faith. He was also a great reformer. He took head-on the abuse scandals and instituted incredibly strong protocols for child protection. The Catholic Church is now the leading institution in terms of child protection policies. And as a mother of 5 children with kids in Catholic schools, and I lead the children's liturgy at our church, I see these protocols all around me. So, so that is another important part of his legacy, that he did take this crisis head-on.
Yeah.
And work so that we don't face this type of thing in our future.
All right, Maureen Ferguson with the Catholic Association, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you.
Former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel is finally taking charge at the Pentagon. Hagel was sworn in this morning as Secretary of Defense. The Senate voted to confirm him Tuesday despite strong opposition from his former GOP colleagues. Republicans still question whether Hagel is up to the job. The vote ended one of the toughest fights over a cabinet choice in more than 20 years. The White House says President Obama will meet Friday with congressional leaders to discuss sequester options. This week, he's been on a campaign-style tour against the $85 billion in cuts, including a stop in the military region of Hampton Roads, Virginia. Ephraim Graham has more.
White House numbers project Virginia would be among the hardest hit by a drop in Pentagon spending as part of those $85 billion in automatic budget cuts that are part of the sequester. Around 90,000 civilian Defense Department workers could be furloughed. So the president took his case to the Hampton Roads region of Virginia, home to America's largest military installation. He paid a visit to the shipyard in Newport News, where all of the Navy's aircraft carriers are built. It employs thousands of people to build and maintain ships for the Navy and Coast Guard.
What the sequester does is it uses a meat cleaver approach to gut critical investments in things like education and national security.
But some political observers call the White House numbers and the president's campaign against the automatic cuts a push to spread fear among American people.
We are all in this together.
At this Hampton Roads town hall, 3 area congressmen heard more frustration than fear.
We have to start fixing our government.
Zeus is a biker who normally stays out of politics, but just the threat of a sequester is hurting his business. He owns this custom bike shop, and 90% of his customers are military members.
Guys that were getting ready to be deployed, their deployments are getting cut, or they're not sure if it's going to get deployed, so they're not going to spend their recreation money because they have to take care of their home first.
So Zeus is taking care of home as well. He's delayed expanding his business, canceled plans to buy new equipment, put off hiring people, and even cut his own pay. He'd like Washington to follow his business model, Democrats and Republicans.
It's just time that we make them responsible for what they're doing. Otherwise, they're going to get let go, you know. I mean, I've had employees, it's like, if you're not doing the job that you're hired to do, I can't keep paying you.
That frustration doesn't fall on deaf ears. It's why Republican Congressmen Scott Ridgell, Robert Whitman, and Randy Forbes called the town hall meeting.
The likelihood of sequestration happening is very, very high. It is, you could describe it as certain.
We have to be able to talk to others and say what this means to the nation as a whole, what this does to our military readiness.
Defense is not a faucet. You don't just turn it off for 3 months and then turn it back on. Some of these availabilities, if they get delayed, it'll never happen.
The threat of cuts to military training is what most worries Amanda Leffler. Her husband has deployed 3 times.
We discuss what it's going to look like, and we're just like, you know, it's going to be ugly, but you got to do what you got to do. You know, we're hoping that they come to an agreement and that something passes, but you never know.
This is something that we can clearly fix, and we just need to get to work and do it.
Congressman Bobby Scott is also hearing from frustrated Hampton Roads voters. The Democrat made the unpopular vote against extending the tax cuts back in January.
We should not have extended the tax cuts until the sequester had been taken care of.
Still, Scott stands with his Republican colleagues and against the automatic cuts to defense spending. For now, the sequester appears likely, if not certain. But many of those who will be affected by it say they'll get by and make do as they have to. They wish Washington would find a way to do the same. Ephraim Gray, CBN News.
The wife of a Christian pastor imprisoned in Iran is speaking out on the one-month anniversary of his sentencing. Naghmeh Abedini has written a powerful blog revealing her pain and suffering through the ordeal. Her husband Saeed was sentenced to 8 years in an Iranian prison for his faith. Naghmeh says that God is in control of the situation and the government's involved. To read her blog post, you can visit our website, cbnnews.com. Coming up, the latest on a Texas town's fight over biblical banners at high school football games.
Listen up for an amazing offer that can change the way you hear.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Frustrated with your hearing?
What did he say?
Well, hear better now. Introducing the fully rechargeable MSA 30X, a revolutionary device that features the latest microsound amplification technology that can barely be seen. Independently tested to help you hear up to 30 times better. It turns ordinary hearing into extraordinary hearing. MSA 30X works by capturing and amplifying sound waves, yet its lightweight ergoacoustic design is discreet. It form-fits in and around either ear.
I forget I'm even wearing it.
And MSA 30X is powerful. Hear clearly in restaurants. Never miss another word on TV or at the movies.
My wife complains that I have the volume up on the TV too loud.
And I didn't want to be in the same room with them.
Now I can hear everything clearly.
Simply adjust the volume as you desire. Other units use so many batteries and they're difficult to change. But the MSA 30X is completely rechargeable. Simply plug it into the wall.
I tried other devices that had batteries, but they were always such a pain to change and so costly. But this is rechargeable, so I figure I save hundreds a year.
Bulky sound amplifiers can cost hundreds, but try MSA 30X for just $59.95 and we'll include a cleaning brush and 5 comfort tips. But wait, in this special TV offer, we'll cut the price in half. Now you can hear up to 30 times better for just $29.95. But there's even more. We'll double the offer free. Just pay additional processing and handling. Wear them both or give one to a loved one. Did you hear that? That's 2 MSA 30Xs for just $29.95. The MSA 30X Hear Better Now offer. Get 2 for just $29.95.
All I can say is just try it. It could change your life.
To order the MSA 30X sound amplifier, call 1-800-535-0654. That's 1-800-535-0654. Or you can go to MSA30X.com. Call or go online now.
Welcome back. Folks in a small East Texas town are again taking up the debate over Bible verses on banners at high school football games. The Kuntz School Board opened its doors to the public last night. They're looking for opinions on a ban preventing cheerleaders from holding the banners at the games.
To inspire their football team. They are cheerleaders.
What if next year a Muslim student or a Hindu student, a Buddhist student makes the cheerleading team? Is she going to be forced to hold up a religious banner, or is she going to get kicked off for not agreeing with it? I mean, where do you draw the line?
I've learned just to share my faith, and being told you can't do that, it's not easy.
CBN brought you the story of the Bible verse banners last fall. The school board banned them at football games after the Freedom From Religion Foundation filed a lawsuit against the school. But a judge has blocked the ban. A trial is set for this summer. The U.S. Capitol building added an important new statue to its collection today, one that helps better tell America's intricate story. Jennifer Wishon explains.
Rosa Parks is known for what she refused to do, give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus so a white passenger could sit down. 57 years after her simple gesture helped spark the civil rights movement, she made history again as her image and story was welcomed into the U.S. Capitol's Statuary Hall.
It's the first statue of an African-American woman to be placed in this Capitol.
Rosa Parks is an unlikely American heroine.
We celebrate a seamstress, slight in stature, but mighty in courage.
When she wouldn't give up her seat, Parks was arrested. Days later, a new pastor in town by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. stood by her as she challenged the charges. A boycott of city buses began. Montgomery's black citizens walked where they needed to go.
385 days after Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, the boycott ended. Black men and women and children reboarded the buses of Montgomery, newly desegregated, and sat in whatever seat happened to be open.
Parks' sculpture was crafted by California artist Eugene Daub. He chose to have her sitting, but not on a bus seat. Instead, she's rooted to her environment, making it clear she's not to be moved.
This is kind of a superwoman in a way in Clark Kent's clothing. She's this courageous warrior for racial injustice, and yet she sits quietly in mid-century dress and as looking, for all intent purposes, like an average American citizen.
When we make "In God We Trust" not just a motto, but a mission, as Rosa Parks did, any burden can be lifted.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Up next, hear why some vets disagree with women in combat.
Listen up for an amazing offer that can change the way you hear.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Frustrated with your hearing?
What did he say?
Well, hear better now. Introducing the fully rechargeable MSA 30X, a revolutionary device that features the latest microsound amplification technology that can barely be seen. Independently tested to help you hear up to 30 times better. It turns ordinary hearing into extraordinary hearing. MSA 30X works by capturing and amplifying sound waves, yet its lightweight ergoacoustic design is discreet. It form-fits in and around either ear.
I forget I'm even wearing it.
And MSA 30X is powerful. Hear clearly in restaurants. Never miss another word on TV or at the movies.
My wife complains that I have the volume up on the TV too loud.
And I didn't want to be in the same room with them.
Now I can hear everything clearly.
Simply adjust the volume as you desire. Other units use so many batteries and they're difficult to change. But the MSA 30X is completely rechargeable. Simply plug it into the wall.
I tried other devices that had batteries, but they were always such a pain to change and so costly. But this is rechargeable, so I figure I save hundreds a year.
Bulky sound amplifiers can cost hundreds, but try MSA 30X for just $59.95 and we'll include a cleaning brush and 5 comfort tips. But wait, in this special TV offer, we'll cut the price in half. Now you can hear up to 30 times better for just $29.95. But there's even more. We'll double the offer free. Just pay additional processing and handling. Wear them both or give one to a loved one. Did you hear that? That's 2 MSA 30Xs for just $29.95. The MSA 30X Hear Better Now offer. Get 2 for just $29.95.
All I can say is just try it. It could change your life.
To order the MSA 30X sound amplifier, call 1-800-535-0654. That's 1-800-535-0654. Or you can go to MSA30X.com. Call or go online now.
The Pentagon is going ahead with its plans to put women into military combat units. Some consider it a victory for equal rights. But as Lee Webb explains in tonight's Focus Report, others argue it will hurt our nation's ability to fight.
America's women have served with distinction in our military, particularly over the last decade in the war on terror.
Everyone is committed to doing the job. They're fighting and they're dying together. And the time has come for our policies to recognize that reality.
That's why Leon Panetta, in one of his last acts as Defense Secretary, opened the door for women to the more than 230,000 positions in infantry, armor, even special operations units like the Rangers and SEALs. Former Army Captain Tanya Domi applauds the decision. She writes, "America once again reaffirms its core values of equality and respect." And she says it's good for our military and our country, too. Retired Army General Jerry Boykin couldn't disagree more. He's one of the founding members of Delta Force and the former commander of Special Operations. He acknowledges that women have served bravely under fire in support roles, but he doesn't believe they're physically up to the challenge of serving in units that pursue, engage, and destroy a hostile force.
It is not the average female that will be able to do that. So it's a readiness issue, and no one is considering readiness.
This is the Army's physical fitness standards, and there is a double standard for men and women. For example, a 22-year-old male soldier is required to do 40 push-ups. A 22-year-old female soldier is required to do only 17. Now, the Pentagon has said if a woman wants to serve at a direct combat unit, she will have to meet the same physical standards as her male counterpart. But listen to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff explain a caveat to that.
If we do decide that a particular standard is so high that a woman couldn't make it, the burden is now on the service to come back and explain to the Secretary, why is it that high? Does it really have to be that high? With the direct combat exclusion provision in place, we never had to have that conversation.
I don't know if that bothers you the way it does me, but that's frightening. And what that really is saying is, if women can't meet the standards, we will lower those standards.
Stay. Stay down! Stay down!
And Boykin believes it will have life and death consequences, as the HBO series Band of Brothers so powerfully depicts.
Come on, Joe. You're all right.
That's why we give medals of honor. And if you look at every Medal of Honor, it's normally because somebody was trying to save a buddy.
Go, go, go.
Band of Brothers also highlights an aspect of warfare that another expert believes the Pentagon is ignoring. Retired General Robert Scales made the study of warfare his business as the commandant of the Army War College.
One of the things that neither I nor anyone else, I'd argue, in the military really understands is this so-called Band of Brothers effect. It's this buddy teaming, which makes up the essence of cohesion in small units. Remember, the American soldier really doesn't die for his country, and he doesn't die for the mission. He dies for his buddies.
And Scales believes the Pentagon owes it to those soldiers and Marines to perform an objective study on lifting the band.
Units that are thrown together or who have bad psychology or that are poorly led tend to die in hugely disproportionate numbers. So increasingly, the weight of these wars are falling on the shoulders of this very, very small band of brothers. And before we break it up and reassemble it, we better be darn well sure that we're doing the right thing.
General Scales' two daughters are former Army officers, and both agree with their father on the issue. This West Point grad and former Army captain who asked us to protect her identity also agrees with him. She completed 2 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and at one time wanted to serve in a frontline unit. But she changed her mind because of the wear and tear her body took during 5 years of active duty.
I guess I was naive to think that, that I would be invincible forever. But right now, I have 2 small children, and my quality of life is degraded because you can only hold them for so long because your back hurts and you need to put them down. It changes the way I'm able to live.
What does it say about a nation that allows its women to do its fighting for it?
Right now, Congress is working on legislation to protect women from violence and domestic violence. And then on the other hand, we're turning around and saying to women, fix bayonets and charge that group of men over there, most of which are stronger than you, bigger than you, and capable of killing you. It is inconsistent with our ethos. I think the Bible is very clear that we're the stronger sex and we have a moral obligation to protect our women.
Joins us now with more. Lee, do you think that many women are actually going to fill these frontline combat positions?
Most experts believe they will not want to, and those that will want to will not qualify. The Marine Corps tried an experiment at Quantico this past year. They had about 100 young Marine officers go through their basic infantry course. 2 of those 100 were women. Both of them washed out. The first one on the first day because she could not pass the endurance test. They're going to try it one more time next month with 2 more women, and it will be interesting to see how they fare.
Yeah, it sure will be. Now, you say that football provides a good analogy as to why this is a bad idea. Explain that.
Mark, if I were to tell you that the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens were going to replace retiring linebacker Ray Lewis with a woman, what would your reaction be?
I'd be shocked.
A lot of people would start laughing, but then they would also not laugh then when they actually saw the woman lying on the field after being injured. A football field is no place for a woman with the kind of men who play in the National Football League. The Baltimore Ravens would no more do that simply because they want to win, and they realize that placing a woman in that position would cause them not to win a football game. The other analogy is women have served in support roles. There's no question that a woman probably could be a National Football League referee, but could she take part in actually playing football, tackling and running and all those kinds of things and compete with men? The answer is no. And we are to believe yet that the football field is more dangerous than a combat zone. That's what a lot of people are saying right now, and they're calling attention to that very fact.
All right, Lee, thanks so much for your insights. It's going to be interesting how all this plays out.
Bet.
We'll be right back.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
John Mapes is 42, mortgage, married, 2 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. John can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $25 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll search the pick of insurers like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. John's wife, Carrie, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or visit SelectQuote.com.
Thanks for staying with us. If you're looking for a place to retire or retreat to in case of an end-of-the-world scenario, look no further than Idaho. Believe it or not, the Potato State tops the list for the best place to survive a natural disaster. Survivalists attribute its popularity to low crime rates, the high amounts of forested land, minimum gun laws, and good resources in the area. Even some local Walmarts are providing an entire section dedicated solely to emergency preparedness. The most popular item, dehydrated and freeze-dried foods. Makes sense. So if you want to retire in case of an end-of-the-world scenario, head to Idaho. That's all. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.